Often people wonder how great it would be to have a spouse that is an entity, how it would be the most wonderful thing in the world, and that life would be a bit more easier since you're loved by an entity. Will life really be easier simply because an entity is in love with you? Can such a relationship of mutual love be possible? Love between a human and an entity has also become a fantasy for some. Many have chosen to become sexually active with entities, and they have done so by pursuing succubus or incubus types of entities. I will not get into this topic since I have already written an article about my opinion of being sexually active with entities. I will spend more time on speaking about general love between mankind and Jinn, and if its possibilities exist, inshallah. We are two separate creations. We are made of clay, and Jinns are made of smokeless fire. We were never meant to cohabit with one another, and for this reason we cannot see them, communicate with them, nor interact with them openly. Although their world is within ours, Allah has created a barrier between their world and ours to keep the two worlds separated. This alone should give one somewhat of an idea of a human and Jinn relationship and its possibilities. When a Jinn falls in love with a human, it is not because the Jinn decided to hang around this person to get to know them, or to get to know their character, or even how good of a person they are. When a Jinn falls in love with someone, it is due to attraction. Something about that human the Jinn likes so much that the Jinn fell in love with him or her. This something can be minor, as the shape of an eye, or even the length of hair. But whatever it is, it's not enough to cause real love. True love does not develop on a physical trait. Do not confuse love for lust. And a Jinn's lust is very powerful. Is there any possibility of a safe and loving relationship between a human and a Jinn? Honestly, there's not. And I say this with experience because I have dealt with many cases where a Jinn fell in love with a man or a woman, and even after asking the Jinn if such a relationship is possible, they always said no. Hence why they started causing the victim problems. I'm sorry to say, such cases always end in problems. Why such relationships are not possible is honestly very simple to realize. But when a person fantasizes about something deeply, they don't look for possibility. They just seek to fulfill that desire, which in this case is having a love relationship between a human and a Jinn. Why is such a relationship not possible? Love. Jinns know very well that they cannot have the type of relationships a human has with another human, and this is a very big issue for the Jinn. Even in cases where the love was mutual, the Jinn was still extremely possessive to such a point that the female could not communicate with any male member of the family because the Jinn would become jealous. Although the Jinn knew very well that no love relationship would develop among the female and the males in her family, such as her brother, the Jinn still did not like it because it could not openly communicate with her as her brothers and overall family members could. In this case, she could see the Jinn, talk to the Jinn, even feel the Jinn, but it could only happen when she and the Jinn were alone. When the Jinn would see her interact with other humans, it absolutely hated it. Now, some ignorant people may say, who cares? I don't need to speak to anyone in my family as long as I have my spiritual Romeo or Juliet Jinn. Well, such a case also happened in Iraq. There was this female who always kept to herself. She moved out at a young age and was very independent. A very powerful Jinn ended up being very attracted to her and fell in love. It would appear to her as a very handsome prince, according to her. She would state that he would bring her presents and talk about the most beautiful things. So eventually, she ended up falling in love with the Jinn as well. Everything sounds good? Yes? I mean, look at the scenario. Human and Jinn both love each other. Mutual love. What possible problem can there be? Well, the problems came. The more she grew affectionate towards the Jinn, the more it fell in love with her and the more protective it got of her. You see, The Jinn knows very well that a human and Jinn relationship is very hard to maintain, especially since the Jinn can outlive her. So, for this reason and many others, the Jinn wanted her to spend every second of her life with him. It stopped her from leaving the house. It stated that other men may look at her and she might end up liking one of them. It would not allow her to open any windows of the house because it was afraid some man may see her or she may see some man. If she fell sick, the Jinn would not allow her to see a doctor. If someone knocked on her door, the Jinn would not allow her to open it. For 8 months, this lady sat in her home and did not leave. Eventually, the people of the village started wondering what was going on with this house. Was it empty? Was someone in it? Did someone die in it? One morning, the villagers contacted the police and stated that there was a woman living in this house, but there has been no activity for 8 months. They were afraid perhaps she died in there. So the police, along with some of the villagers, gathered together and forced themselves into the house. What they saw was a woman who was very skinny, looked very sick, and was sitting on the ground facing the wall talking to it. Many assumed that she was mental, but she was not. She was talking to her Jinn lover, who was sitting lean against the wall. But others only saw her talking to the wall. They decided to take her to the hospital, and it is then when she told them what had happened. Now, here in the West, the doctors may look at you like you're crazy, and perhaps in Iraq as well. But the doctors believed her and contacted a spiritual healer. I went and spoke to this woman, and she explained everything to me about how the woman came to her in her dreams, then in physical form, and how he was so handsome, and how it would bring her food and spend all day and all night with her. But eventually it became very possessive. It got to a point that if she went to use the bathroom, it would be next to her. If she would sleep, it would wake her up every few hours to talk to her. It would not let her go outside. It would not allow her to open the windows, and towards the end, it would not allow her to groom herself, because it felt that if she was well groomed and clean, somehow, some way, a man would see her and fall in love with her, and she may fall in love with the man. So it was best to keep her filthy, so even if someone did see her, they would find her repulsive. It took 1 year of treatment to treat this lady, and finally the Jinn left. A few weeks later, I had left Iraq, but from what I heard, 3 months after the treatment, this lady started searching for her Jinn lover. She would scream and cry all night for him, and would rip pieces of hair out of her head. What happened after that, I honestly don't know. But is this the type of love you would want? Is this true love? Did she really love the Jinn? Did the Jinn drive her mad, or did the love for the Jinn drive her mad? Whatever it was something I would never want to experience. Children. Regardless of the stories out there, Jinns and humans cannot have children together. This is not a good thing since marriage usually involves having a family. Quality of relationship. Due to this, Jinn gets possessive. They can't go out with you. They can't meet your family. They can't have interactions with the human family as humans would have with one another. Also, regardless of what anyone thinks, let's for a moment just use a small amount of common sense and leave the stupidity to the side for a few seconds, so that we can come to realize that a Jinn and a human cannot have a type of relationship a man and woman can have, regardless of what you may think and or assume. Equality in the relationship. It is a simple fact that Jinns can be very arrogant. And if one was to have a Jinn spouse and this person assumes that they can exchange ideas and have the Jinn oblige, and the possibility of having some equality in the relationship, forget about it. It has been asked before to the Jinn what it thinks about equality, and the response was, I am a Jinn. I did him or her a favor by falling in love with him or her, so what does his or her opinion matter? I know what is best for him or her. Only my opinion matters. I'm a Jinn, not a weak human. I know far more. Sincerity. A jinn will always worry about losing you to another human, and while this may sound romantic to some, it surely is not. Because a jinn will never be sincere to your feelings. It will be jealous, leery, and will not trust you, and for such a reason, the relationship will be one-sided, and one-sided relationships even among humans end up as a disaster. I have named only a few reasons why a relationship between a human and jinn is not possible. Unfortunately, people assume since jinns are so close to humans, they would make great spouses. But monkeys are also like humans. They are smart. They can be trained to do so many things a human can do. The chimpanzee and ape look alike in many ways. Humans and chimps share a surprising 98.8% of their DNA. Human and chimp DNA is so similar because the two species are closely related. But does this mean we can marry a monkey? Humans were created for humans. The love between two humans cannot be matched. Love between two humans are far more blessed than the love between a human and another creation of Allah, and Allah knows best.